The difference between Quinn Ewers' 2023 and 2024 seasons is absolutely insane. In 2023 and beforehand, this guy looked like the next generational quarterback, someone who'd come through high school as one of the top recruits in the country and was ready to go and dominate the NFL. In 2024, it seemed to all fall apart. So, which version of Ewers are we getting in the NFL? Is this guy a day one starter, or someone who's never going to play a snap as a starter in an offense? If you like this content, please consider liking and subscribing. But let's take a little bit of a deep dive into one of the strangest quarterback prospects in this draft class. There's definitely a lot of things to like with Ewers, and this is one of those players that in scouting, I wanted to make sure that I went back and watched some 2023 film as well as some film from 2024, because trust me, it is an entirely different player. But even in 2024, you can scout some relative successes in his game, some strengths that you can see that may translate when he gets to the NFL. One of the main things that I spotted was the arm talent. And it's not just the fact that I think he has a relatively good arm in terms of the ability to throw the deep ball, in fact, sometimes actually putting too much air on his passes. It's the incredibly quick release, which I was very impressed with. He also has the ability to manipulate a variety of arm angles to be able to find the right player. This is something which shows creativity and something which a lot of rookie quarterbacks just don't have the ability to do. So I was really impressed with this, what I saw on film. He also looks great when he's in rhythm, and this is going to come up in the weaknesses as well. When the offense is working, when the offensive line is blocking well, and the defense is probably a little bit of a talent deficit, so he is not seeing a huge amount of pressure, he can play with really good footwork. But that is particularly when things are going well. It's not quite the same when things fall to pieces. I also think that he's shown a good ability to throw with touch and to level in throws with timing into holes in zone coverage. Touch passes in particular are something that I was quite impressed with. A lot of rookie quarterbacks just tend to sort of rocket a ball in as fast as possible to just try and get there before the window closes. Jalen Milroe in particular is someone that I think is particularly guilty of this, but Ewers definitely knows how to throw with a variety of strengths on the ball in order for the kind of to find the right way to throw in each scenario. I also think in 2023 he showed some really good pocket mobility. That was definitely not the case in 2024. I think in terms of intangibles, we see leadership from him, we see competitiveness from him, we also see a willingness to go out and play when not 100%, so it is impressive. Now, obviously, these aren't things which are going to matter too much for your fantasy drafts and for scoring fantasy points, but in terms of someone who's going to come into the league as probably a day two pick and have to fight for a starting role, those intangibles are going to be huge for him to be able to succeed. The first thing you have to say when you talk about the weaknesses of US game is just that huge regression in 2024. As I said, if he'd come out the previous season, this probably would have been a first-round player. He was definitely in conversations in Devy circles for the 101 in this class, and someone that people were very excited about. I remember being in a Devy draft a few years ago where Ewers was taken in the first round because he was a really exciting prospect. It's just not worked out in the same way. Now, this could lead that teams end up taking him a little bit higher than we think because they've seen the early film and think, well, if we can get that player, this is going to be our starter for a while. But the downward trajectory in terms of his development is something that I'm very concerned about. We like to see college players get better year on year, and Quinn Ewers got a whole lot worse. In terms of specifically why, one of the main things that I see is a really inconsistent accuracy, particularly in the short game. He has a real tendency to make things like screens look like the most difficult play in the world, checkdowns as well, when these are supposed to be your really easy, okay, the player is 5 yards away from me and wide open, and he has a tendency to even struggle to put that in the right area for them, often throwing over their head or behind them or too far out in front. This is a real worry to me. These are supposed to be your easy moments in an offense, and if you can't make them work, you're going to struggle to make the more complicated things work. And even if you can make some of the more exciting things, offensive coordinators are going to get so annoyed with you if you can't easily complete a 5 to 6 yard pass. I also think he really struggles to get off his first read. Now, that's particularly when pressure is in his face. I think he really struggles with pressure. But There were quite a lot of times without any pressure that I just saw him really struggle to get off the first person he was designed to do. This worries me when it comes to the creativity of him. I don't think he can make full-field reads, but I don't think he's also able to read a defense and find the open man, which is definitely a concern. The footwork in 2024 was just lazy as well. This looked like a guy who knew how well he'd played previously and kind of stopped focusing on the mechanics, which again is going to be a huge issue. Proper footwork puts you in such a good path to succeed in the rhythm of an offense. Also, from a fantasy perspective, he has relatively limited mobility and rushing upside, particularly due to a fair amount of lower body issues across his time in college. So I just wouldn't think that he'll be drafted that high in fantasy because he's not going to have the same rushing floor as the kind of quarterbacks that we like to take in dynasty leagues. My playstyle comparison for Ewers is early Sam Darnold, and the main thing that we have to try and figure out is if he can become late Sam Darnold, who's just been paid over $100 million over 3 years as the hottest free agent quarterback on the scene. Now, whether that was a good decision is not really a discussion for this video. I can see the same struggles under pressure, but also the arm talent and the ability to work well when things are going well. We just need to see a bit of development from Ewers in terms of how he copes when things aren't going well. I think he really struggles under pressure in the same way as Darnold, but I think the tools are there for him to succeed. So that's why early Sam Darnold, seeing ghost Sam Darnold, is probably the guy that I would compare him to the most. He is currently projected on Mock Draft Database to go in the 3rd round. This wouldn't surprise me as a developmental quarterback. This is normally about where they go. In terms of where I take him in your dynasty leagues, in your rookie drafts, in one quarterback leagues, I'm not touching Quinn Ewers. I think he goes outside the top 5 rounds. There's just not the level of upside there that even if he did battle and become a starter, he's probably not going to be hugely relevant for fantasy, just because I don't think he has the tools to compete at the highest level, and he obviously doesn't have that rushing upside. Now, that could be wrong, but to me, I wouldn't be taking one quarterback leagues. In Superflex leagues, you probably can take him in the 4th round. This is a developmental piece who may end up becoming a starter if he can get back to the level of play that he showed in 2023 and beforehand. So having that kind of upside in the 4th round in leagues where quarterbacks are way more exciting and way more important, I'd be willing to do this in the 4th round. Do you think Ewers can get back to what he showed in 2023, or do you think his drop-off in 2024 is enough to think he'll never be a starter in the NFL? Let me know down below in the comments. I'd love to chat with you about what you think of this prospect. And while you're there, like this video, subscribe, and please consider checking out all of the other rookie profiles available on my channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.